Okay, well, I know we'll have some more people joining us in the next few minutes. Welcome, everyone, to our July Artistic Masterclass. We are so glad that you are joining us to learn a little bit more about how to use technology and your tablets for music reading. And we want to make sure that we thank AARP for their very generous sponsorship of our monthly master classes so that you can attend for free. And we appreciate any pay what you will donations that you have made this evening to help us keep these monthly master classes free to those who would like to take part. So this evening, I have the pleasure of having the sharing kind of the space with Kathryn Harsha, our artistic director of programming, and a very special friend and guest presenter this evening, Rachel Thompson. I've known Rachel for many years now. She has many talents. She is an accompanist in the area, and some of you may have seen her on stage with us with Sentimental Journey Singers. She actually helped us start our Sentimental Journey Singers because she's also a music therapist. So she has a practice that is in the DC metro area doing music therapy with older adults, with people that are in rehab, and other areas of life where they might need and benefit from some music therapy. And she's also a local chorister, so we can see her in many, many capabilities in this area. So Rachel's going to share with us the tablet version of Fourscore. So Fourscore is a program that runs on iPads for using sheet music on an iPad. And so Rachel's going to introduce us to a program called Mobile Sheets. And Mobile Sheets can work with Windows and Android tablets. So we're going to give you kind of the high overview. And just like with our iPad masterclass, these are all recorded if you want to come back and watch something again. And if we find that we need to do a 201 class or kind of a follow-up class to this to learn a little bit more, we can certainly offer that in the future. You let us know what you need. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Rachel, and she's going to talk to us. And please feel free to put your questions in the chat, and we'll pause periodically to go over those. All right, Rachel, thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you so much. It's really my pleasure to be here. I'm going to start sharing my screen right away just so we can all be on the literal same page. So give me just a second to do that. And let's see, here we go. So tonight we are going to be talking about reading music on a tablet device using a specific software called Mobile Sheets. Like Marianne just said, Fourscore is the music software that's used on iPads. This happens to be another option for those of us who use tablets. Again, I'm Rachel. I'm really happy to be here. I just wanted to let you know up front that I'm not technically on staff with Encore, but like Marianne said, I've had associations with some different Encore groups, the Sentimental Journey Singers, as Marianne mentioned. And then I was a guest conductor for an Encore chorale for a rehearsal or two in a few years ago. Also, as she mentioned, though, my day job is as a music therapist. I just wanted to give a tiny explanation of that for any of you who have never heard that word before. My job as a music therapist in the capacity I do it is I work with individuals and groups, mainly with older adults and mainly those who have dementia. Music therapy in the basic form is just using music to accomplish a goal that honestly is not very musical in nature, but we're using what we know about music to accomplish other things. And so for someone with dementia, for example, I'm using music to assist in reminiscing. I'm using it to help with word recall. I'm using it to encourage some enhanced cognition that they might not be practicing on a daily basis, and also to like foster independence for these folks, for older adults who are in complex living situations. So I just wanted to put that out there and happy to answer questions on that later. Put that in the chat and happy to talk about that if you're interested. But today we want to use this as a follow-up for Kathryn's session back in January that she talked about using the program Fourscore for reading music on the iPad. Again, Fourscore is exclusive to iPad use. So what are those of us who don't have an iPad? What can we use? This program I'm going to talk about today, Mobile Sheets, is an option to use on Microsoft or Android devices. So, what is Mobile Sheets? First, up front, I will give a couple of disclaimers. I'm not paid by Mobile Sheets. I don't know anybody over there. In fact, I wouldn't really even consider myself nearing being an expert. But after the resounding note of thankfulness from those of you or others who were watching the Fourscore webinar, I was asked to give this one simply because I'm an avid user of this program. I sing in choirs myself and do a lot of accompanying. And yet I have a Microsoft Surface device. That's just the tablet that I am using right now. It's the one that I use to sing from, and it's the one that I use to play from the piano. And it's from that device use and my own everyday experience with Mobile Sheets that I'm coming to you today. Again, I'm just an average user who's hoping to assist those of you who are considering putting your music scores on a Windows or a Google device. All right, so I'll walk you through some of the introductory slides on what Mobile Sheets is, and then I'll show you the program itself. So these slides, for those of you who just love attending webinars, are identical to the ones that Kathryn used, except I just transposed in the pertinent information for this particular program, Mobile Sheets. So you'll see here that Mobile Sheets is a commonly used application to read and annotate music on tablets using a Windows device or an Android device, but technically it also works on the iOS system and the Mac OS system. So you can use this on a iPad device. We just recommend you using Fourscore because that is proprietary to that device, and there's lots of other conductors and others within Encore who use that pretty exclusively. As far as specifics, though, Mobile Sheets, this program we're talking about, can be installed on any of the following devices. So this is going to get technical for just a second, but I just want, if there's something pinging in the back of your mind, like what devices is she really talking about? So it's any device running Android 7.0 or higher, any device running Windows 11 or higher, I guess, as we go along, or Windows 10 version 1809 or higher. Sorry, I don't know exactly what that means, but that's what they say. You can use it on an iPad or iPhone running iOS version 13.6 or higher, and on a Mac with an M1 or M2 processor. I know that's a lot of jargon, but just wanted you to know that it's available on all those devices. This program is specifically made for music. It's very easy to use, in my opinion. It's quite affordable. So let's get into some specifics. How much does Mobile Sheets cost? Right now, Mobile Sheets is $15.99 for lifetime access. I can confirm that this applies to as you move machines as well. So it's like a one-time buy, and you can move it between machines. I had to get a whole new computer at some point in the last year, and it easily came over with some just basic migrating from one tablet to another, but that original cost will carry uploading it into the other tablet. I will mention that there's also a free companion download. This is used specifically if you're going to be using a tablet separate from where you want to upload and categorize the information. So I don't use this myself because my tablet is my computer, it is my laptop, and so all of my info stays on this device. But this companion download can help you link the program itself from your PC to a tablet. It's available in the same place online where you get mobile sheets. It just says Mobile Sheets Companion, and that's actually a free download. So if you have mobile sheets, you can download the Mobile Sheets Companion, but I don't have personal experience with that because I don't need it. So, what are some of the benefits from mobile sheets and its use on tablets? As you can see here, many of the benefits are the same as anyone using a tablet to read music. One of the great things is that all your music is in one place. That's always delightful. I don't know about you all, but I certainly have had times where I've changed binders or something like that. And all of a sudden, I'm wondering where all that music went. If you're using a program on your tablet, then it's all right there. Another benefit is that the screen is backlit and it can make it easier to see in many situations. Mobile Sheets even has a backlight switch embedded in the program. Um, I think one of the things you talked about last time, Kathryn, is that sometimes you'll note when people are holding a device in a choir, you see a little bit of a reflection on their face because of that backlit along the way. Mobile Sheets has an option to flip that, and so you'll have a black background and white notes. And so if that's I just toss that out there as something to consider if you really have a scenario, a concert scenario that would really require that backlight not being on there right then. I'll try to see if I can remember where that is in the settings of the Mobile Sheets program once we get into that. Let's see. We'll also go over how easy it is to mark your score, both by zooming in to make things a little bit more personal to you, color options, all sorts of things. Marking your score is pretty easy in this program. Let's see. Mobile Sheets uses set lists instead of playlists. The Fourscore program on iPad uses playlists where you can put in your songs and make a playlist. It's just a different terminology. It's exactly the same thing. They use set lists. And you can, the other great thing about reading on a tablet is that you can easily zoom in, either to isolate your part, or so that you can write in edits easily and then have it shrink back down and look like it's just part of the music to begin with. And I'll give you an example of that a little bit later. What are some disadvantages? Might as well talk about those too. There's the extra expense of purchasing a tablet and mobile sheets. Hopefully, if you're here, you might be already using some sort of tablet in some arena of your life, and maybe that's why you want to check out mobile sheets. I will say, if you compare the two, I do believe that the Fourscore program is 25 bucks and this one is 16 bucks. So getting a little bit of a discount there. But other things to consider is the weight of the tablet. If you are in the process of figuring out if this is a good thing for you to explore and you haven't worked with a tablet before, I highly, highly recommend not just clicking and buying one online and seeing if you can find a place where you can feel how heavy it is to actually hold that in your hands. In my personal opinion, it doesn't feel much different than holding a regular binder, mainly because a lot of us are choosing binders that are substantial enough to handle the weight of our music, especially those of us who are in lots of different choirs or lots of different chorales or lots of different piano accompanist situations. But it is something to take note of. Let's see. What I will say is that, oh, sorry. It also means that everything in one place means that it can also all be lost at one time. But I will say that backup for the Mobile Sheets program is super easy, and I will show you how to do that a little bit later. The other thing I'll mention is that you'll also need to make sure your device is charged. That's something that comes up a lot of times, especially when you're going from rehearsal to a concert. Many people I know, especially accompanists, do keep an extra stash of hard copies of their music just in case. But neither for the Four Score or the Mobile Sheets program, they don't require internet access at the time of using them in a performance or the rehearsal. They do need it beforehand because you're likely using the internet to bring those scores into your program, but you don't need it during the performance. So you don't have to, it's not like you can only use this tablet while you're connected to the internet, or you need to have the Wi-Fi password of the concert hall in order to use that. All right, just going through some of these best practices. These are things that Kathryn mentioned in her talk as well. But just encouraging you, there's really no need to buy a new tablet. If you're working with one that you like working with, a small one, a big one, whatever it is, if it's working for you, this could be a nice thing to try. Backing up your Mobile Sheets database to the cloud or to your individual device is the safest way to to prevent any loss of those scores. But it's my understanding that Encore gives you access to the digital scores through, is it Google Drive, Kathryn, or?
Both Google Drive and Dropbox, I believe they're there. Yep, so they can just
Great.
download them.
Great. So it's not like you're really, losing the music forever if if something happens. You can just do the process over again. And I did want to mention that there are choir folders made specifically for all kinds of tablets, and they can be purchased online. And as long as you have the kind of name of exactly what tablet you have, I have what is it, Surface Pro 11 or something. And so I would look up that exact name of that tablet, of that laptop to make sure that you're getting a device. And most of those will have some sort of thing to slip your hand into the back of that tablet. But I would, again, just that's an ideal thing to buy at a place that you can return it easily if it doesn't work for you. I have a great one, a sturdy one on the back of my tablet, but I must admit I don't love it so much for the hand holding of choir music. It's just not easy to get my hand into there. So I'm actually considering changing that. And just note that's kind of part of the process, getting yourself used to what you might be comfortable with. All right. I am going to pause for a minute because I just gave you a ton of information about using a tablet and using this random program that you probably have not heard about before. And I just wanted to give you a chance to ask questions if you have any.
There are a few questions in the chat. One of them is, what size tablet do you recommend?
Let's see. I'm trying to gauge what I'm looking at right now, and I'm assuming mine is like a 13-inch tablet. Does that sound right, ladies? I didn't think of that beforehand. I do know that there are some tablets out there as big as 17 inches. And I have a friend in particular who uses his tablet for a lot of like guitar playing music,
Mhm.
and he definitely just kind of sits it on a stand. He's not holding it, so he's sitting it on a stand. So he kind of wants it to be as big as possible, so
Mhm.
he can see it from a stand. And I know Encore in particular is certainly supportive of any adaptions that need to be made in order for it to be feasible for you to work with your own tablet. I wouldn't necessarily say that bigger is better because bigger is going to be heavier, right?
Heavier.
And so
Yep, agreed.
that's certainly something to consider when you're thinking about this. And I would go back to that earlier note that I would really encourage you to just try it with what you have first and see if it'll work. See if you can see it well enough. A lot of the tablets these days have great zooming uh, specifications too that can make that a little easier. Other questions?
The next question is, I have an iPad mini. Is that usable?
It's my understanding that it is. I actually have a friend who has an iPad mini and she has Fourscore on her iPad.
Okay.
And so I'm pretty sure, like, again, I don't know much about how mobile sheets works on an iPad, but I think if it has that certain level of capability for the iOS system or whatever that was, that it might be feasible. But just think a little bit about how well you're going to be able to see like a full sheet of music on that iPad mini, and whether or not you're going to have to hold it pretty close to be able to see those. There's always tiny notes in our music, aren't there?
Yep, that's exactly it. The balance between what you can see and how much it weighs is is always a challenge. I do think I may be completely wrong on this, but I think if you're trying to decide what size, some libraries, maybe not all, but some libraries carry iPads and tablets that you can borrow while you're there and weigh them out and hold them. That may not be every library, but that would at least be an option.
Right. And one of the things I would say with that, again, both of these programs we've been talking about do cost something. And I honestly can't remember if there's like a free trial of mobile sheets. But one of the best ways to do it is to somehow, either through like a picture that you can upload onto your device, onto your iPad mini or any other device that you're using, that's about the size of the screen. If you can, get it big enough and then just, tilt it to the portrait mode and see if you can actually see the notes as written, even by taking a picture of something and testing it out that way. Don't feel like you have to fully buy into either one of these programs before you've tested it out to see if it's going to at least work for the visual of it.
There are two more quick questions in here. I'm going to do them in reverse order. One is, does mobile sheets allow you to turn pages without using your hands?
Yes, we will get into that. I noted from Kathryn talked a little bit about this, that there's some great eye tracking thing with the Fourscore software on the iPad that allows you to just do it with your eyes. Personally, I'm just not, I don't know that the answer to that for mobile sheets for that sort of thing. But what I will say is that we'll be talking about later how you can use a foot pedal to turn your pages.
Mm.
So if
Yes,
that's
so that answers one of the other questions. And then somebody said when we get there, she wants to know how to go to a particular page so she can switch as the director switches. Cindy, I'm going to tell you that that has to be approved on both sides. And I don't know that you actually want that. I'm not sure that the directors always switch pages exactly when they should. But I know what you're talking about. And Diane is asking, can you use it on more than one device? If you download mobile sheets, can you use it on more than one device?
that's an excellent question. I I don't think I know the answer
Yeah.
to that. If I had to guess, I would say it's hard for me because my tablet is my laptop, and so all of the information on this entire machine is my information, or like the things that I own. But I'm not sure if you can. Um, it's not like you're signing into mobile sheets every time. And so it might be exclusive to each device. That might be a 2.0 kind
Yeah,
of
that might be a 2.0 question.
well.
And the other question is, how do you handle first and second endings? And DS type codas, can you copy and paste whole pages? And
We'll talk about that.
the
Yeah.
answer to that is we're getting there. So I think we're ready to dig into the software if you want to, Rachel.
Excellent. Sure. Okay. Let me share again.
And Lori, while she's loading that, Lori clarified, yes, you're exactly right. You can connect two tablets. You can connect an entire ensemble's worth of tablets together so that you can see, yes, both two pages at once. And also, like my Fourscore can control the other Fourscore users in the room. But that I use the two iPads left to right all the time. I'm not sure I would recommend having a conductor control all of the iPads in the room. That gets a little risky. Yeah, Marianne is saying, no, 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 no. Um,
As a director, I don't want that responsibility because then you'll see how nutty I am in my score. No thanks.
Yeah, and I think again, just something to note throughout this presentation is that I'm more than happy to give you information as to the extent to which I know what you can do. Unlike Kathryn, I don't have two separate tablets, and so I often end up I'll show you a way in a minute where you can have two pages of music on the same like landscape, you know what I mean? Landscape screen. Technically, I think you can have it like a half page at a time on a portrait screen. But because of just my own sight, I choose to have it on the portrait mode and just go from page to page because the page turning is really easy. All right, so this is Fourscore. I hope you can see. I made a bigger mouse pointer than normal, so I'm hoping that you can see that a little bit. As you can see right here at the top, I have 1,200 songs in my Mobile Sheets program as a whole. And we're going to get into along the way, like how you can organize those and all those sorts of things. I'll tell you right up here at the front, the first one on my list is down in the river, and yet that's because there's a one in front of it. So if I got rid of that one, it would just be alphabetical, like the rest of the songs on this list. So let me move us over here and start with how you get music into this program, okay? So for this program, it's through this tab up here called Import, and I will just click that open. Give me a second, I'm gonna move myself out of the way. Okay, so a couple of the different options that you have on mobile sheets is to upload something directly from Dropbox. And obviously that would be great for Encore because you can just click in there and find your Dropbox. I don't really use Dropbox, but I will give you an example with Google Drive. Give me just a second. So if I pull up Google Drive, actually, Marianne, this is one of yours. What I am looking for is I'll go back to the root of my Google Drive and go into the ones that have been shared with me. So these are all sorts of things that have been shared with me over time. And I just clicked into this other one. That's some studio recital stuff I did for Marianne back in the day. So all I would do is click on this and as many others as I wanted to and then click OK. And then what it's doing, I hope you can see this, that it's downloading the files from Google. And what's first going to come up here at the top is one of these it's like the default. It's basically saying, you want me to guess the title of this thing from the file name of this thing? And in this case, I definitely do. But then there's other options. You can even type in a separate one along the way. And so what I would do typically is to take that from the Google Drive and in the most basic form, I would just press OK down here and it would just come into my program and be one of the things that's on my right-hand side under, the letter A over here for adagio. And it would just come in like that. But this is also the place right from the start that you can start putting your music into different set lists and collections. Those are the ones that I would assume you would use most often. So if we go in here to collections, I'm not totally sure what this is going to pop up. These are all the collections I've used over time. Oh, here we go. Okay. So I was wondering, down here, I have an SJS for Sentimental Journey Singers. I'm just going to click on that and say, okay, I want this piece of music that I am importing to go straight along with all the other Sentimental Journey Singers music that I have. And then I would press OK. So that would be one option to do. I'll go ahead and put that there. So it comes up here in collections as SJS. And then maybe SJS has a concert coming up, all right? And maybe it's part of a larger concert. I'll give you an example. I'll go to an SJS concert. Gotta go all the way down here, probably. All right. SJS had a concert at the View in spring of 2024. And if that music was part of that concert, I would just kind of click here and say okay and go from there. But what if this is the first piece of music in this new concert cycle, in this new Encore Chorale season? What I'd likely do is come down here and click New. And then all it's asking me, it pops up automatically, is what's the name of this new set list? And so I'm going to put Encore Chorale 20, maybe I'll put fall. Sorry, 20, I can't type, 2026. Okay. And then I'll press OK again. And so then this song up here is now going to be listed in my set list for Encore Chorale Fall 26. It just happens to also be listed in my collections for, in this case, Sentimental Journey Singers, just because it's there. But if I don't want it there anymore, I can just delete it. Not a big deal. So that's how you upload some of those. I will admit that even with 1,200 songs, I have not really explored any of these other options. But you can imagine that somebody who is much more into the specifics of their music than I am could go hog wild on putting in all of this information. And then you would be able to, at some point or another, just bring up that whole collection or bring up that whole that whole set list of the songs for that time period that you're looking at. So that's kind of how all that works. Let me go back. Oh, good, it imported a file. Okay, let me go back and just show you something that has already been marked up. Can you see that okay? All right. So this is just a song I sang a couple years ago, and it came to me with all of these colored markings from, honestly, I think it was somebody who did it in Fourscore. And so it was a PDF that I uploaded from a Google Drive site that I was given access to, much like you have access to the Dropbox or you have access to the Encore Google Drive. And it already had all of these markings on it. And the only thing that I've added so far is this little part up at the top. And I'll show you how you might write, annotate, mark your own music. Okay. So all I did there was click in the blank black abyss on the side of the screen. And for our program, we're going to go up to this little paintbrush here. And I'm going to click on that. And man, it's got a whole menu of things. Can you guys see that okay? I just want to make sure that okay, I just want to make sure it's coming through. Okay, all right. In this case, we'll start with this little pen here. And when I click on it, it just highlights it. Can you see how it shows up? In my case, it shows up in blue. I'm not sure if it's the same for you. If I click on it again, it will open a box that looks like this. And this is, in essence, you're using the pen or you're using your cursor to write on your score itself. Now, you can see you can, much like in Fourscore, you can change the size and color and all sorts of things on this. So if I wanted to change the size, it's basically just making it really thick in terms of what I'm going to be writing. If I want to change the opacity, I'm hoping you can see that this gets less opaque if you go to the left and then more opaque, or that's opposite, right? You know what it's doing. You can see it. And then here you can click on here to do any sort of color. I just happened to pick green earlier so that you could see it when I was going to mark up the music. Okay, so let's click on any of those. Click on the black again. And now what I'm doing, or what I'm going to do, is I've got a little, what is this called? A touchpad on my keyboard right in front of me. Here's my screen here, and then down in front of me is my keyboard. And I have a little touchpad here where I can write anything that I want. All right. Now, for music in particular, sometimes it's helpful to maybe emphasize this slur line here, maybe circle this note because I keep getting it wrong. These are all things that you can do with that cursor on your pad in the front. Or in my case, my tablet happens to be a touch screen. So I could also, my hands are right here. I can also zoom in on my screen and say, I'm really having a trouble remembering that this note right here is a sharp. And I'm like, Rachel, why can't you remember that we're in the key of G, so that would be a sharp. And then I can drag it back with my fingers, or I can drag it back with the cursor itself here by, um, I never do it that way. Let me just make sure. Yeah. So if you're zooming in and out, there's a way to do that with your cursor by holding it. We'll get to that in just a second. Okay, so I've made a couple of these different marks with this pen icon. So that's one of the ways that you could mark up your score. What if I just don't like the way that looks, right? It's a little bit messy, all the things. I'm going to go back with this arrow here, and it'll undo the last thing I did, and then it'll undo another one, and undo another one, and undo another one. Or I can take this icon, which is an eraser, and erase the whole thing, like all the marks I've made so far, by making a big old box around the whole thing, and then it's gone. So I do a little bit of that just to encourage you that it is worth playing with a little bit to see what the best way might be for you. Some of the other options here up top, this one is a highlighter instead of a pen, and you can highlight certain sections. Say this is your part. Now it looks right here like I'm crossing out all of the notes, but because it's a highlighter, it's just going to highlight it like you would with your old school highlighter. So you can see your part through the highlighted portion. Okay, I'm just going to undo that with this little arrow. And then the T in our menu at the top here stands for text. And sorry, bunch of different options for how big this text is and all of those things, but you can, I'm going to make this just a little bigger so you can see for a second. You can click on an area and start typing text. All right. So that's what the T is for.
Rachel, can you go back to the highlighter for a quick second? Did
Love
you
to.
have to change the opacity
I think it's
Opacity?
opacity.
Opacity?
Yeah, either way. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Did you have to
So
change that when you were using the highlighter?
I did not actually. So this, because it's a highlighter, this opacity here is set at 100. And so that's about as, colored as you would get. If I went back here and brought it all the way down, you see how light that is? So maybe I see how light that is in the way that that's being highlighted as well. And so using that highlight, honestly, I don't use that too often myself. And so I think the default there was set at 100. And so as you can see, that was this one that ended up looking like that. So
Got it. Perfect. Thank you.
no problem.
And Cindy is asking, just to back up a minute,
Yeah.
where did you find new? Was it under more? Cindy, is that when we were adding files in there? You can just unmute if you want. Press your space bar and unmute.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to go back to that for just a second. Um, Actually, let's see. Let me get to a screen like that. Okay, so this is a different song, so it's set a little bit different. But if I go into if you're either talking set lists or collections, it works the same way. So for example, this song is from this set list. If I go into here in this select item, I could put it in a different set list, or I could just do the new and it's right here at the bottom. So that comes up when you click on set lists or collections, whether you're in the process of importing or you've imported and just put everything in as, unmarked, not part of a set list, not part of a collection. Um, you'll still get this that comes up and you can select the new from there.
Thank
New
you.
set list. You're welcome. Okay, let's get back to here. Again, I'm clicking on this like open space here. And I'm going back up here to our paintbrush. I just wanted to show you one more of these little ways that you can modify your score. And that's these are called stamps. Okay, and I'll open the stamps. Look at all those neat options that you have in there. So say, for example, I'm one of these alto parts over here, and man, I cannot remember that this is a D natural. So I'm going to click on there, come back to X out of the stamps. I'm going to, just so you can see it, you don't always have to zoom in like this. You can just be precise depending on whether or not you have like a pencil, like an electronic pencil, or you're using your finger and you're pretty precise. But I'm gonna put this natural right there. And if I hold it down a little bit, I can move it around. And I'm like, Rachel, please sing a D natural there. Oh, I think I double clicked on that, and that's why it looks like that. So in any case, that's how you would use stamps. Okay. How are we doing so far? Thanks for the questions along the way. I'm going to bring this back to what it was and exit out of here. There's a couple of other options up here. Honestly, I don't use a lot of them aside from the eraser because I make a lot of mistakes. But you can put like a whole staff in, and then I will talk about some of these other ones in just a couple minutes. Okay, let me see where I'm at. Okay, so what I'm going to back to is our home screen. One of the neat things about mobile sheets is that there's a couple of different modes that you can put it in. If we go back to this home screen, we can come over here and click on this, and it should come up. Yeah, it comes right up. It says performance mode enabled. One of the neat things about performance mode is that it's great for if you're in like a live rehearsal or a concert. What it's going to do is basically simplify all the options that are available to you. So as you're kind of clicking through on your tablet, as you're clicking through, you're not like changing something in the music itself. It kind of takes out all of those options. For example, if we're in performance mode here, because this is colored in, and I go back to down in the river, beforehand I had told you that if you click over here, it'd bring up that menu. All it's doing now is turning my pages as I click, because that's the only option that it's giving me right now in terms of inputting into this computer, because now it's in performance mode. And that's great because the last thing you want is if you, for example, just make a mistake and turn too many pages at one time, you're like, oh, I gotta go back. You don't want it reordering your pages automatically or assuming, something else. And so putting it in performance mode can really simplify that. So you're not altering anything along the way. All right, I'm going to go back. All I did there was hit escape to go back. I'm going to take it out of performance mode again, because I just want to show you a couple of other things in the document itself. All right, so when I clicked in this blank space and we had been hovering up here on the paintbrush, there's also a couple of pretty significant things that are available on this larger screen right now. So I'm just going to take your eye down to these two in particular. If I click on this little, looks like a piece of paper, it brings up this option for me and it says select display mode. Right now, my display mode is set as a single page. That's why you see that single page in the middle of the screen. But I could ask for it to have two pages at once, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so I occasionally use this setting when I am singing music. Again, when I'm playing music, as you also might imagine, my screen is tilted to portrait mode. Right now, we're all in landscape mode, is what this wide one is called. But if I tilt it to portrait mode, then the font is a little bit bigger, and that just naturally is how the display goes. And so, but you could have two here at once, and that's now indicated by these two side-by-side pages. One more thing I'll note right here is now you have this number one show up, and it's like, oh, well, where'd that come from, right? It means you're only, if you are either tapping on the screen with your cursor or more often literally tapping on the screen if you're on a tablet, it's only going to go forward one page at a time if it says one. So you'll see here, this is page in this document, this is page 3, sorry, this is page 3, this is page 4. If I click to the right to turn the page, it's actually going to keep page 4 over here, but bring up page 5. So when I'm in this double sheeted landscape mode page, I would click on here and say, no, thank you. I would rather have two pages at a time. In this way, back to the beginning, I've got 3 and 4. And if I click to the right, now it goes straight to 5 and 6. Okay. So that's something that would be down here in your options. I'm actually going to go back to single page. Well, I'll show you how half page looks. Let's see. That wasn't, oh, here you go. It's kind of starting to give you the other half of another page. This would be used specifically if you are again, tilted vertically in portrait mode, and you just want to kind of tab on the screen as you go along, the half page mode might work for you to do that. But again, with a lot of these programs, it really ends up being what you are interested in doing and whether or not what feels comfortable to you. But then you'll see here, it's no longer two sheets right beside each other. It's like a half sheet on top of another half sheet. But I am going to go back to single page. Okay. I'll pause for just a second, wondering if you have any questions while we're in the middle of talking about these options for the screen itself.
Lori was asking, is this software that you can use to compose music with? I was saying mostly composers use Sibelius. I know there are other simple programs that people use, but at least for Fourscore, it's not really made for composition. Is that true for this as well?
I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
it would be exceptionally tedious to compose through this program in
Stamp,
particular.
a stamp
Yeah,
at a
yeah,
time.
a
Yeah, yeah,
stamp
yeah.
here, a stamp there. There's definitely much better programs out there
Yeah.
to do that. And I think Sibelius is one. There've been multiples over time. So
Yeah, I think Finale is gone,
it is.
sadly. So Sibelius is the one that's left, the big one that's left. Marianne, that's something we could do later on down the road is have a master class on software if you want to be a composer.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else I can answer up front?
I think we're good. We're following
Oh,
along
great.
pretty
I love
well.
it. I love it. Okay. Let's see.
Oh, wait, one more question. Is there a risk of clicking on too many icons for a particular challenging measure, for example, that would inadvertently cancel out an important note? Interesting.
Um, yeah, I think it would depend on um personally. I'm so grateful that this program has the availability it does, like with those stamps and with, all of the options to write in. But I don't know about all of you and how your tablets are working for you in your daily lives. I certainly am most comfortable utilizing the actual pen that comes with my that comes with my tablet, right? And so the good thing about that, I mean, I can try it. I hope it works. I'll try to show you what it looks like to just write with a pen on the screen. Okay. Oh, I'm up in what's it called? Stamp mode again. So I'm going to go back to just writing. And can you see this? Right. So, um, for a lot of I use my pencil a lot if I'm just trying to orient my eyes to a certain location, like Rachel, you really need to look at that. That's much easier to do on my pencil. But technically, this program, as I've been showing, can do all these other, um, these other things over time to highlight and all of that. So, in terms of the only trouble I've had every now and again is um like saving multiple, like attempting it's not really like an old school Word document where you can save as. You would need to kind of rename the whole um the title of the piece that you're working on. And after a certain point, this undo button here, once you've kind of X'd out, it kind of assumes that you want to save the changes that you've made. So for example, I will X out of this and go back, sorry. And then when I go back in, I can go back to the menu and use this eraser button to kind of be like, okay, well, all that stuff that I had actually done, I don't need any of that anymore. And it kind of reverts it back to the original version that you received that score in. And so that's kind of how you would handle something like that.
And someone is asking, can you save an altered version with a different name so that you still have the original? And I'll just answer that and say yes. In both this and in Fourscore, you can absolutely do that.
Mhm.
Um, but because the capability to clean it up is so good, the only time I do that is when I start duplicating pages.
Mhm.
And then I make sure that I've got an original just in case.
Right. And that is next on the list, is to talk
Yeah.
about how you edit your pages going forward. So I'm going to come down to just this lovely score we're using again. And what I'm going to do here in order to highlight it is to right click. All right. If I right click, then it selects this, one piece of music. And I'm going to go up to this thing that just popped up. Can you see it on my screen where it says edit song? Okay, so I'm going to open that. This is what we saw before. It automatically defaults to this first category of fields where you're getting all these things we've already talked about. But if you go over to files, this is where you can reorder your pages. And actually, I'm just going to click on this part here where it says reorder. So this program does this more visually than anything. And all you really need to do, like say, this is probably not the best example, but say there is a repeat that happens somewhere in the midst of, say this is a DCL couple or something like that. Um, all you have to do is reorder the pages. Like I want to see pages 1 through 4, but then it's actually going to be 2 to 8. And then we do have something that goes back to 4 and then 5. And then we're going to do skip from 8 to 10. Just in, if that's the way that the piece works. And then it'll automatically reorder those for you. Now, you can go ahead and save this outright, but here's the place where you could, I think, you know, I'm trying to remember how this works. You can save it as a new PDF or as a new song. Most of the time when I'm reordering pages though, I just save it as the original. Like this is the way this song is going to come up every single time from now on. And so you would just click save, and when you go back and you open it up, it's just going to come out as this version. Now, I think here's where my own limitation would show. This is the way that I do this. I go through the files, I go through all of that. Let me go backwards. Would you like to save your changes? In this case, I'm just going to discard them because I'm going backwards. I'm going backwards again, and I'm back to what it was. Sorry. Sorry. I'm right clicking again just to make sure you know that the song from start to finish is just as it was. It's back to the 10 pages, the 10 pages that it was. So when I want to reorder my pages, I go through this process. It's my understanding that there is a bit of an easier keystroke process to do that, but it's a bit more of an advanced for me. There's a setting in here somewhere where you can reorder the pages in a different way, but again, as an everyday user, that's how I reorder my pages. And sometimes to my detriment, I have to make little notes because I can't quite see it as well as I want. Like, oh,
Yes.
it is 1 through 4, and then we go back and then we skip ahead. And it can get a little bit um, tedious, but again, for me and the way I use the technology as it is, that file version of page reordering has worked okay for me.
So that's what I was going to add to what you're saying, Rachel. This is all so good. When I am doing that, like with a DSL coda and duplicating pages or with repeat signs, I will go in with the highlighter
Mhm.
and I will leave myself a note. It literally in bright orange, just one line or something. Yes, it's intact page by page, Michael. But I will leave myself a note on the page where I'm starting and a bright orange whatever on the page where I'm ending, for
Mhm.
example, so that I can see what pages I need to duplicate. And
Yeah.
then I go through and erase it afterwards because it can be easy to lose your bearings as those pages are a little bit small.
Mhm.
Um, and then the question of can you break it up by measure? I'll let you answer that here, Rachel. I don't break mine up by measure, but I definitely do cover some measures or just erase them completely on the pages.
Yeah, I'll give you an example of that. Um, all right, let's see. Um, so I work at a church whose initials are VPC, and um, I'm just trying to bring out one in particular. Yeah, I mean this is an okay example. I have reordered the pages here to this. You can see there's a repeat sign here. And as I go forward, that was page 1 and page 2. And if I keep clicking forward, I'm going back to page 1 because there's a repeat at the end of that first page. Sometimes the way I do this, again, when I'm reordering these for my very particular purposes of accompanying, is that I will take this brush and use the pen here. I'm trying to remember if that's how I do it. Give me just 1 second. No, I think sometimes I use the block. And what I might do is use this block to come over here and kind of block out everything so I don't see it anymore. Now that's with the highlight, but if I did it with this one, trying to remember how I there might be a block somewhere. Oh, there's my block. There's my block I was looking for. This block is completely black. And so what I would do, sorry, it's having a time of its own right now, is blocking. Anyway, there's a there's a way that I can block out this whole section, or I could highlight the whole section just so my brain is like, oh, pass right by that so that you can keep going. Oh, here's an example of it. I whited out this first ending
Yep.
on the second time through. And so I know, oh, I got to just skip over that. Again, I can go back and technically I can unselect that so it's not um yeah, I could erase that whole section there that I had whited out and then I would get all those notes back, but I'm never going to need them again because I'm always going to read this score all the way through.
That is exactly what I do is a box and I just fill it in with white and then
Yeah.
everything disappears and I know not to do that. Absolutely. So the thing that people are asking is, and I know it's going way back to the beginning, but this is confusing for Fourscore as well. Can you show us one more time how you import a piece of music from a PDF that's living on Google Drive?
Sure. I'm going to go up here to import. And if it's on let me actually give you an example from OneDrive because that's the one that lives like on my computer. So these are all just PDFs that I have downloaded from Google Drive most of the time, but um, they live on my computer. I'm just wondering if they come up as PDFs.
And I do think that's an important step, regardless of what device you're on, iPad or tablet, is downloading from Google Drive onto your device first,
Mhm, mhm.
and then from your device into this software.
Right. So, for any files that exist on your device itself, in my case, I use OneDrive, and these are the ones that I used to have from Encore, for example. Okay. And so, all I would do is click on each one of these. I'll show you how to do like a bunch at once too, because we hadn't done that yet. So these all live on my computer and I will upload them to this program. So I'll click OK. You see how it's just working its way through doing all this, transferring it song by song. All right. So the neat thing about this is that I'm going to put all these songs in the same set list. And I'm going to make a new one. Say those are the 5 songs that you're going to sing this fall. And so I'm just going to put Encore Fall 26. And this comes up the same again, but it's just because it's alphabetical. And so the one that is checked is always all the way at the bottom. So this is the one that I'm going to say okay to. So all of those songs are going to go into that set list, and I'm going to click OK. And there we go. And sometimes it opens it for you. But let me do it from Google Drive, just so you know. I don't know if I don't think I have access to Encore's Google Drive, but let's see. Okay, so all I did there was click, I'm sorry, I probably did that a little bit too fast. Terribly sorry. Import. And all I'm doing is hovering down here to Google Drive. And everybody kind of organizes their Google Drive a little bit differently, but most people, I'm just going to go back to the root here. Most people have something like this folder that says shared with me because I have agreed to be a part of this group or somebody granted me access. This is actually, I believe, where I got the SJS music initially. But let me see. Well, so here's a good example. Sometimes if it's not in a folder, it'll just come up as a PDF by itself. So say this is in our list for Encore for fall. Oops. I'll click OK. And it's going to download that for me. And then straight from here, I'm going to be able to choose all the same things. I'm actually going to go ahead and put that. I'm going to hover over E, or I can just type it at the top. But I know I made one of those Encore Fall ones. I'm going to check that box and click OK. And then it always brings me back to this screen. And this is the time in which you could say, well, I'm going to go ahead and put it in my larger Encore collection. Oh gosh, look, it doesn't look like I have an Encore collection. I'm going to make one, all right? And I'm going to make that. All I did was click on the new there. And so all of my Encore songs are just going to be listed in the Encore collection. Again, if it's new, it's always going to show up at the bottom. And I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to click OK again. And now that song is in my Encore collection, which I can access. I know we didn't really talk about it, but this should be a little bit intuitive. It's just going to be right there in my collections. Oh, look, I've got Encore. All I'm doing is clicking here. Oh, it's got that song that I put in there. Well, hold on. I want to go to the set list that relates to Encore Fall 26. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm just going to type it in. I know it has something to do with Encore. Oh, look, I made 2 of them. This one happens to be the one that has, oh, look, I put it all together. So,
This is great. So one of the questions is from Fran, and I'm actually going to answer this, at least start with it, and then Rachel, I'll be curious what you say too. Fran is saying Fourscore has layers. She said she's new using Fourscore and have not used layers. Are layers important for singers? And if so, does Mobile Sheets provide the same function? I am going to encourage you to not use layers. for a couple of reasons. And I'll tell you why I use them, and why I don't encourage them. I use layers when I'm marking a score. I will put two sets of markings in a score. One are markings that I want my singers to see. So then I'm going to upload those markings onto, for marked scores that singers use and share. And the other set of markings are for me personally. Remember to cue the altos here. Remember that this is on the and of beat two, whatever. I sometimes use layers for my own personal markings and for markings that the singers need. Um, what's really confusing about layers is if you're not 100% sure you're in the right layer, it can be very confusing. You can't erase something and you can't figure out why you can't erase it because you're not in the right layer. You've tried to put something in and it won't stick because you're not in the right layer. So I would encourage you not to mess with layers unless you're feeling very strongly about it. But I'm curious, Rachel, if layers work differently or if they exist even here in this software and if they're a little more intuitive.
I must admit I haven't used them at all, nor have I really explored them. But one of the things that I'll say about this program is that, there is a software company that is the only one that um, it's the main one that hands out this program. Like they have the license for this program. And on that main website to download mobile sheets to begin with is access to the user manual. And it's very searchable. I find it very easy. I go there all the time. It's just an
Yeah.
online manual instead of being one that you would store in the drawer in your
Mhm.
house, right? And the great thing about that is that you can certainly use some of them have a search function, but there's also the ability to find words within a larger document. And sometimes I'll just type in something like layer and see what comes up with that. Honestly, especially with AI these days, um, I often will not even fully go to the manual itself on the website. I'll type in mobile sheets, layers, and even that beginning paragraph or two that wherever you're searching, Copilot, Gemini, all these, ways of searching these days. That first paragraph might give you at least enough information and link you to where that would be in the actual manual. So that would be that's I don't use a lot of AI at all, but that's one of the ways that I certainly
Yep.
use it to my advantage, so I don't have to look things up by hand.
Yeah, totally agree. Put the name of the software in and your question into a Google search, and you'll be amazed at how much help there is for these particular kinds of software. And
Hey,
then
Kathy,
just, yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
If you have a question, that's fine, but I realized I had two more things I just wanted to note about this program in particular, because I promised someone earlier that I would talk about using on most tablets that are touchscreen, you of course can just touch the tablet and, touch it on the right-hand side and it will turn the page for you. When I'm in this mode on my tablet in landscape mode and I have a keyboard in front of me, I'm pressing the right arrow on the keyboard to go from, page to page along the way. But when I am playing piano, I use a page turning pedal, and I just wanted to show you mine. There's a million of them out there. This is the one I use. It's called Butterfly Page Flip. And all I'm going to show you, I know this is probably backwards, but if you believe me, I just want you to know that this really is the right-handed portion, the right side of my pedal. And if I press this with my foot, but I can also press it with my hand, it's going to turn the pages for me by doing that. Now, one of the great things about this is that this could be highly adaptable to someone who is seated while they're singing and can figure out that just holding the tablet itself is about all they can handle. They can't really do that and turn the pages and that sort of thing. But maybe I could do it with my foot instead. Again, this is highly, highly helpful for those of us who play piano. But I can see other uses for it as well, and would highly recommend exploring it if it's something you're interested in. You can also go back. Again, this is the right side, so I'm going through this lovely piece of music called Blue Moon, but then I can also go backwards. Okay, so I just wanted to share that. And then I do think I promised to show somebody what it would look like if you were having the backlit situation where you really didn't want any light coming off of your device itself, kind of lighting up your face. I can see this being appropriate in a really serious concert, that sort of thing. I just wanted to see if I could show you how that works. That's going to be one of the things we haven't really talked about. We've been up here on this import button, but as most uh, devices, Amazon pages, lots of things work. The three dots will also open a whole other world of things that you might want to explore. And I will show you here that just by clicking on these three dots, that's what I'm talking about, these three dots, there's all sorts of things that you can do right here at the start. I will tell you that the manual that I was talking about is right here, but I just can't quite remember if it's inherent to the whole thing. Yeah, the full manual is right there available to you. So I'm going to go back, open this again, and I'm going down to settings. Now, this settings screen, just feel free to glaze your eyes over for just a minute because it doesn't really matter what all these are. These are higher level. You'll might have to access some of these when you're initially uploading the program, but it really does kind of walk you through. I will tell you that the pedal settings here, the touch and pedal settings, you can get really specific on that in terms of a long hold versus preventing the pedal from changing a song or all these sorts of things. I will look here before I get to the backlit portion of it. When I was talking earlier about how easy it is to back up your whole system, um, it's right here from this backup menu. And all you would do is click on Backup Library. And what it's going to do is give you options for where to store that. Um, I don't really have any audio files in mind, but some people probably will. So I'm going to automatically just keep these two settings clicked. And then when I go here to select a backup destination, you can save it anywhere. You can save it in Dropbox. You can save it in Google Drive. I already told you that the one I use is OneDrive. And so I'm going to go save it in OneDrive. And so it's going to access my OneDrive. And actually, it's going to tell me that if I scroll down here, that the last time I backed up was back January 25th of 2026. It's automatically going to put this as today's date, and I can put it right in that same location. Just so you know, about 1,200 files is 5 GB of data. So you'll want to make sure that you have enough on your tablet or on your PC, or if you're in the same way, you can certainly upload this to Google Drive and just making sure you have enough, room on your Google Drive to store it there. So that would be how you would do that. And I'll probably be doing that in the next couple of weeks. I'm just going to cancel all that because I don't need to do that right now. And then I'm going to go up here to display settings because I think that's where the backlit portion is. I'm going to scroll down here a little bit. Oh, there it is. It's called night mode. I'm going to turn it on for a minute. I'm going to close this. This is now night mode on my tablet when I'm opening this program. And this is what Blue Moon would look like. Now that's a little weird. That is a little weird to look at, but at the same time, think about it in terms of you're in a a candlelight concert of some kind, and you are really committed and really feel comfortable with using a program like this, you just always use your tablet, that sort of thing. The fact that this is available so that the reflection that comes off your face isn't cueing to everybody in the audience that you are reading off of a tablet. It could be, it could be used in that way. And if you know a piece well, just having that security blanket there to be able to see it, um, I would say it would take me a little bit to get used to, but I can see some uses for it. All right, I think that's about all that I had on my list of things that I end up using on the regular. So happy to discuss anything else on your mind or any questions about this program in particular.
This is amazing. One of the things I just want to clarify because we were talking about it in the chat, but for everybody, the files that live on Google Drive, you have to download those onto your device. You don't have to download them into your own Google Drive. You can go from Encore's Google Drive straight to your device, but they do have to live on your device. That's how, once they're loaded on your device, you no longer need Wi-Fi. You would need Wi-Fi if you were trying to access them from Google Drive. And there's no real clean way to do that, and I wouldn't recommend it anyway because you don't want to have to rely on Wi-Fi in all of those scenarios. So you just download the files directly onto your device and then upload them into the software. Or as she was showing you, it kind of becomes one step, which is brilliant. I love that. Um, this is great. Does anybody have any additional questions that they want to put in the chat right now? Or best way to change songs during the program. Cindy, do you mean like going from one song to the next? Yes. Okay.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's where those set lists are magical because when you open a set list, it truly is going to just move from one to the next. It looks like I stopped sharing my screen 1 second too early, so let me go back. All right, so all of these songs here are in a set list. Um, actually, give me 2 seconds to turn off night mode so we can see what's going on. Okay.
Well, and while she's doing that, friends, I don't know about mobile sheets, but I know on an iPad, when I just was talking with somebody last week about this, to turn the page, you can touch to turn the page and you can swipe. And I
Mm.
find it is much easier to just take my finger and swipe it across. And you don't have to go very far because a touch can be a short touch or a long touch or then a double touch, and it's hard to know. But a swipe is much easier. So I don't know, Rachel, if that works
Yep,
on yours
that's
as
all
well.
I'm doing right now. I'm
Yep,
swiping,
swiping.
and then I'm actually when I tap on my screen and it's not in performance mode. Remember how I talked about performance mode earlier? It ends up bringing up these different, when I tap on the screen, it ends up bringing up these different options. So then I can go tap on, again, tap here and mark it up again. But I have to go back to this screen. If I have it on performance mode, where it says performance mode enabled, when I tap on the screen or when I swipe, I'm swiping, I'm tapping, it keeps going. And this is just to show you that that first song was Blue Moon, and all I'm doing is tapping forward, and then it goes to the exact next song. But if you don't happen to have them in set lists and you're just jumping from one thing to the next, I'll show you that. Say I'm just in the middle of songs, right? And I'm like, oh, we're going to sing this song. Great. So I'm just tapping forward. We got to the end of this song. Oh, this is a long one. Oh, it's even got percussion at the end. You see how it said, did you see how that popped up? I don't know if you saw it, but at the end of the song, like I'm swiping right now and it's not letting me go anywhere else because that's the end of the song. So all I would do was go back. I could even in the moment kind of click up here and be like, oh gosh, we're on to We Are the Ones. Like that's what we're on to next. So you can just go back to that main screen and pull up another song. But it is really why set lists are just wonderful to be able to just start from the beginning and you know what's on. And the other part of that is that, for example, I'll bring up a set list. Um, you can reorder these at any point. All I'm doing is clicking here. Oh, actually, now Marianne decided to have Blue Moon as number 5. So I'm going to type in 5, press enter, and now Blue Moon is down at number 5. So that's really also easy to reorder those set lists as you're going through. Say they have it in a certain order at the beginning of the season, and they're like, "Oh, this really flows better." Really easy to do that in the moment. Anything else?
Um, Cindy is saying her screen doesn't have the black edges. The page fills the whole screen. So then where do you touch if you don't have those black edges?
You can touch right in the middle of the piece itself. Mine's just oriented a little bit differently right now because it's in landscape mode. So when I have my tablet oriented vertically in portrait mode, I just tap on the screen and those other options come right up. So, and that is the one of the things, again, in performance mode, that's why I've been using performance mode more and more recently, because when it's in performance mode, it assumes that my taps on any part of the screen basically are wanting to advance the song. Um, if I'm in non-performance mode and I was still kind of marking up things, if I tap in the middle of the screen, then it's probably going to pull up the options for the paintbrush and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, hold on, no, I don't want to do that. So that's why that performance mode is a useful one to get used to using.
Friends, can we please tell Rachel how helpful this was? I don't know about you, but I'm delighted because I have learned a lot, Rachel. So thank you so much. Of the people who are on screen, which is quite a few of you still, how many of you actually have a tablet or some kind of device that can use this software? Yep. Okay. Some of you
Mhm.
definitely do already. Yes, I see. Yes, awesome. So thank you so much, Rachel. What I would love is for as we go along now for the next weeks and months. As you have questions, you can send them in. And if there would be need or cause, or it would be useful to have a sort of a version 2 of this information session, we can make that happen. But Rachel, I want to thank you so, so much for all of this incredible information. I feel more comfortable with it, and I know that our singers do too. And for the people who have been listening online, please send your questions in. If you're watching this as a recording later, please send your questions in, and we'll make sure that they get answered as best we can. So, Marianne, I'll let you officially close us out. But Rachel, thank you so, so much.
You're so welcome. This was really fun to put together, and I'm just really excited for folks to feel like they can explore this, and you can do this.
Yes, thank you, Rachel. And thank you for joining us this evening. Again, our recording will be up on our YouTube page. Give Ryan a couple of days to edit and get things up there. But please do, try things out. I know I used to tell my mother all the time, you can't break it. Because you can always just reload it. If you didn't like what you did, then you can always just reload it. You can erase it and start over again. So, let us know how we can help. And again, thank you very much to AARP for their sponsorship of these wonderful master classes. And we will see you in August to learn about ageism with Ashton Applewhite, and what we can do to work on that in our country and in our culture, as well as learning about our vocal mechanism again. If you were in Philly for the Philly camp and had the pleasure of being in Michael Pulser's masterclass, he's going to come and do a masterclass for those of us who couldn't be in Philly. Or if you want to have that masterclass again, he will join us in August. So I'm very excited about those. And we will see you very soon. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much.